Greetings, I'm Toglin, Hell's Harlequin, but you may call me Tog. I'm doing another unscripted speed paint. Wanted to let you guys know one of the reasons why I haven't been making too many videos. It's because after I started looking into the anti-narcissism channels, I started getting very emotionally drained. In fact, so drained that I had to take a long break and just enjoy the summer because Alaskan summers are crazy short. So I would have probably regretted it if I didn't go out, enjoy the outdoors, crash on my bicycle. It's actually a bicycle with 3 wheels, so me managing to crash it is quite an accomplishment. It's one of the ones with the big basket in the back so you can do your grocery shopping. But anyways, I find these anti-narcissism channels, they're not just channels, there's blogs, they're everywhere. They're for victims of narcissistic abuse, which makes you not really want to touch it with a 10-foot pole because part of you says, well, these are abuse victims. But when you actually look into it, what they call narcissism is actually all cluster Bs, including histrionic, antisocial, borderlines, and narcissists. They seem to think that all of these terms are interchangeable, which isn't really true. The reason they're all under the same umbrella is because they're all very, very unstable, overdramatic and unstable. It's just a weird thing. In fact, I've even heard them say it's the narcissism cluster. That's like saying cluster A is the paranoid cluster, which isn't true. That's just the weird and socially awkward, self-isolating cluster. But it's actually gotten me to start looking into narcissism. It's interesting also that these channels seem to think that everybody who's a terrible person is automatically a narcissist. In fact, you would think that every abusive person out there has some sort of personality disorder. In fact, it seems people just cluster together in these, and any sort of abusive ex, angry mom, anyone who's a terrible person, they just label them as a cluster B disorder, which I'm not entirely sure they even have cluster B. I'm sure some of them do, but it's not like I'm a psychologist nor have I met them, and I'm pretty sure most of these people don't know whether or not they actually have a cluster B disorder, because you can be an abusive asshole without having any mental illness. The two are not necessarily synonymous. I have to give them something because from what I've read for the research, mental illness and abuse do have, there's much higher rates of the mentally ill being abusive, especially personality disorders. I was also looking into criminality, and I found out that borderline females are some of the most criminally active of any sort of mental illness. Studies show that for males, the rate of borderline in the prison population usually stays between 5 and 6%, which is about what you would expect. And for females, it's anywhere between 20 to 50%. Although the studies do have low sample sizes, and that's one of the reasons why they keep varying wildly. I can potentially believe that it would be up to 50% of females in prison have borderline, considering how unstable borderline is. As well as from what I've read, there is actually a high morbidity between borderline and narcissism, comorbidity. It seems like it could be anywhere between 16 to 30% of borderlines also have narcissism, but that still means that the majority don't have it. But one of the things I can't help but thinking is, are all narcissists necessarily bad people? Do they actually deserve all the hate that these sites give them? Because there's no saying all of these people are narcissists. And from what I was reading, having clinical narcissism seems like a terrible thing to have. It really is quite debilitating. They seem to think these people have no issues. They're just abusive assholes who are happy with abusing. But from what I've read, narcissists are very fragile people. Their inflated self-ego can crack very easily. You can very, very easily completely shatter a narcissist. Early in life, narcissists can be very charming and charismatic and will gain a lot of friends. And as they get older and people are less superficial, the narcissist will start getting isolated because nobody really wants to be around a narcissist, which I can't blame them too much, because it doesn't sound like the type of person I would want to be around. But the narcissist isn't very self-aware, so they end up isolated and super depressed because narcissists actually have very volatile emotions similar to a borderline. Although, like I said, borderlines are typically a lot more self-aware, as well as narcissists have trouble empathizing with other people, which borderlines without narcissism or antisocial have no problem empathizing. It's not even part of the diagnostic criteria. As long as you have strictly borderline and you're not comorbid with one of the other cluster Bs, you're going to have no problem empathizing. I have no problem empathizing. It's just a terrible life because narcissists have a high rate of suicide, drug addiction. It just would be nice if they could find ways to cure it. In fact, there is a lot of research going on, and they have found that they've been able to help a lot of narcissists at least start recovering, and they've been doing techniques and practices with helping them to learn to empathize, which I think that rehabilitation is the best path, because then you'd have less narcissists and everybody could be happier. It just kind of worries me, though, with all this, all of these large communities just simply calling them monsters wearing human skin and whatnots. That just seems like it would further stigmatize it, and it would probably de-incentivize someone to even want to get help, and that's just it's just sad. It's just very sad. Then you have the histrionics. From even reading about histrionics, I found websites that linked them in with narcissists, and basically they think that if you're in a cluster B, you're automatically abusive, which from what I understand, a lot of histrionics are actually, promiscuous attention seekers because of insecurity rather than vanity. So cluster Bs are broken people. They have a higher rate of suicide than the general population. They have a higher rate of drug use. And it's just a sad situation for everyone. I just don't think that any group of people, especially if it's a group of people who can't help it, I don't think anyone would ever choose to be a cluster B. I just don't think they deserve all this hate and vitriol. Part of me wishes somebody else would take up this mantle for me, because I think it's an important cause, but with me being a borderline and being personally invested, it just seems almost too emotionally taxing. So I'm not entirely sure what to do about it. Not to mention the response video I got from Narcissistic Resistance. He basically said, I'm a borderline, therefore I'm a narcissist, and all I'm doing is gaslighting him. So I also feel like when I make videos, people aren't going to take me seriously because I have the condition that they consider bad, so they automatically think I'm a bad, abusive person. Like, never mind the fact I've never abused anyone. Like, I could say that 1,000,000 times, but with the stigma, it's not like they would believe me. I've never been addicted to drugs, so I've been overall a functional a halfway functional member of society with lots of anxiety and insecurity, so. Anyways, let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I wish all of you a pleasant rest of your day.